Crypto, why are you so sad? Crash PRs are today.
Krash PRs are today? Woo! Woo! Krash PRs!
What the hell is that?
It's Krash PRs. Yeah. Yo, Crypto, Krash PRs go live today. It's time to train.
Reggie-a-lecky, Reggie-a-lecky, Reggie-a-lecky.
Hack Bash. Bash sucks. Bash sucks.
Wow, he's the Berry Berry.
You suck, Bash. Oh.
Baby, let's go. What about you and your Champao costume, Bash? Did you get that picked out yet?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go twinning up. I can't wait. Holding
The dark
hands,
freeze.
growling at all the people
The dark
coming by. Oh shit, probably started by now. That was more than 10 seconds.
Yo! Giratina power rankings. We tried it in season 7. We tried it in season 8. And we're trying it in season 9. And it's finally here, I hope. Power rankings.
I give up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Crypto, I feel like I always introduce you guys. Can you introduce me?
Sure, yeah, I'll give a nice introduction. What is going on, Giratina crew? This is your boys from the RCS gang and the commanders of Krash. Starting it off.
More than the commanders.
Oh wait, yeah, we're not commanders. What are we, like Cyruses or some shit? I don't know.
Something cringe like that.
I don't know. Bash tries to like act like we're like too powerful for the league, but like I don't say that. I think we're all one, but yeah, you know, we're all one. We share the power. But anyways, I'm going to give a nice little introduction
Crypto
here.
does like becoming one with another. You know?
Ayo. If you're still this far in the video, somehow go ahead and drop an AO down in the comments for Bash. Anyways, I'll leave a nice little introduction. My name is Crypto, one of the co-owners of Krash, if you don't know that by now, and my co-commissioner buddy here, we got Bash. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yep, Basher Nation, back at it. You know, crazy enough, Krash is made up of Crypto's and Basher's name. If you didn't know, so yeah, and we gotta edit.
You know, some people don't know that.
And then, funny enough, we are gonna add the AV at the end eventually, but like we just haven't
One
gone
day.
to like, yeah, but it's just it costs a lot of money to establish and all the copyright and all the issues,
branding and
the patents and everything. It's crazy, dude.
He's still paying off his student loans, but he'll get there one day.
Oh, this got too real for a second. Yo, this got way too real. I am. Yo, what is up, everybody? It is me, Sketchy.
We didn't even introduce him.
Still here in
Yes.
financial debt.
He asked us to introduce him, and we didn't even introduce him. That's
I'll give him a proper introduction. This is our boy Sketch AV, known as I would say at this point, the third commissioner of the league. He does have the commander and the Cyrus role at this point, I believe. And yeah, this Sketch joined us in season 2, and he has been a very big part of Krash overall, and he is one of our blood brethrens by heart, and really does a great job holding the lead together and putting Bash keeping Bash in check every single time they play, and I really appreciate that.
What?
Oh, I do my best. I appreciate it.
Somebody's gonna do it.
Yeah.
But,
I don't know. I would say Crypto puts me in better check than Sketch.
Okay,
Yeah, well, we kind of take turns taking out the trash,
What? Whoa!
We gotta do these power ratings, bro. We're like...
Anyways, Sketch AV and everybody, season 6 champion, take it home.
Season 7 champion.
Oh, shit.
Wow, I got it wrong, Crypto. Oh my god.
Wait, no,
Shame
he's
on
the
you.
I'm the season 7 champion.
What?
I'm the
No.
season 7 champion. Yeah.
Wait,
Matt-
so what are you guys don't even know?
Oh,
what
you're
you
right.
did?
I probably am season
What the
6.
fuck?
You're season 6. You have season 6 on your thing.
No, dude, that's inaccurate. Anyway,
Alright,
welcome to a very professional, very organized power rankings. As you can tell, we take this very seriously. Yeah, so this is gonna be where we rank the power of all the drafts, basically. And just as a quick disclaimer, we have it by average from 3 separate lists. So I made a power ranking list, Bash made a power ranking list, Crypto made a power ranking list, and we averaged the scores, and that is what we are presenting to you today. The coaches from the worst ranked team to the best ranked team. And I will say that most of the teams were pretty solid, so even if your team is lower on the rankings, that does not mean that it's a terrible team or anything like that. Nobody was ranked unanimously last, and nobody was ranked unanimously first. Our rankings were kind of varied, and we will show you where you land on everybody's list at the end. But figured I'd establish that now. But
So just to add on to that, I think also the rankings do determine which coach that Crypto will take a piss during. So I think that's where we kind of push it more towards.
that is true. That is true. If you land like around 8th place, he might take a pee break. I don't know, but
I might take us with them. I don't know.
I will also say, please don't take the rankings personally. They are 100% based on the teams and not the coach. You are more than welcome to prove us wrong if we ranked you low, and if we rank you high and you want it to be ranked low, then you can prove us wrong that way too. It's whatever you want to do, really. Yeah.
All right. I feel like maybe we'll give Bash the spotlight for this 16th slot. Maybe feel like he's got a lot to say here.
Yeah, Bash is pretty used to being in 16th place, so we can let him start it off.
What? Yo. Okay. Well, to start it off, we have at our 16th place the number 1 overall pick, UG, who has Regieleki, Pelipper, Mega Swampert, Ferrothorn, Coupon Bound, Darmanitan, Kingdra, Galarian Darmanitan, and Flygon as the Terror users as Regieleki, Flygon, Regieleki Ice, and Flygon Furry. Just to clarify this video.
Whoa, Flygon Furry. What?
Yep. Because we have, in this league, we decided to make the Terrors for 8 points or under Furries. So.
Oh my god.
But, no, okay. So basically, we forgot to mention this before. We should have mentioned it, but we have it set for the Terra Captain. So there's one Terra Captain that is 9 points or above, which has to be a selected type. So in this situation, Regieleki is Ice. Then we have a second Captain that is 8 points or below, which happens to be Flygon, who could Terra into any type, which is a free Terra Captain. So yeah. But yeah, let me go into some of the things. I am very interested about the idea. I think some of the teams are pretty. Some of the parts are really cool. Like, it's really cool that you grab both the Darm brothers, right? But I don't know about Darmanitan, like the fire one in Rain, because like I feel like it's gonna struggle because I feel like this entire a lot of the team is based around the Rain. Like a lot of it needs to function, I guess, with the Rain. I guess I don't know. It feels kind of very much towards that situation. Let's see. Regieleki is the only Pokemon on his team that probably could break water types, I think. Specifically bulky waters. If you look down his team, right, Pelipper, Mega Swampert, Darmanitan, Kingdra, Galarian Darmanitan, Flygon, they don't really touch or hit those bulky waters that hard. They struggle with it. Those are like the things that it wants to be able to break. Luckily, they have Regieleki though. And then another thing is, I feel like Ferrothorn's gonna have to come every game pretty much, because Ferrothorn is really, to be honest, it's only really big, I would say, switch in to Pokemon, right? It's one of its only hazard setters, except for Mega Swampert is the only other one. and it provides a lot of glue for the team, but it's also gonna it's gonna be pressured a lot throughout games. It's gonna be literally the only Switzerland, as I mentioned before, because when you look at it throughout the team, a lot of his team does not like to take hits, other than Pelipper. So Pelipper and Ferrothorn are probably gonna be what's gonna happen every game. I feel like, unless he wants to go completely hyper offensive as well. So, and in addition, they do not have heal bell, which is going to be kind of a problem for especially since he's dealing with bulky waters. Scald is allowed in this league in this season, so burns are not going to be fun for his team. And yeah, I don't know. I just didn't feel that great about this team going into it. Regieleki though is still crazy strong, and I think that's going to be probably his main focus. Is just getting Pelipper to set up the rain and just getting to Regieleki, clicking that Terra Ice, and just clicking Thunder and Terra Blast. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think Regieleki is going to be the carry for this team. I'm a big fan of when weather teams are able to function without their weather, and I feel like this team is capable of doing that. I know Bash docked some points for saying that, you know, you kind of need the rain. I actually feel like you could leave Pelipper behind on this team and still have a pretty formidable team with like Regieleki, Ferrothorn, Hoopa Unbound, Darmanitan, the other Darmanitan, and like Flygon or something like that. Like, I think that's a pretty solid lineup. I do also appreciate that, you know, I know a common check to rain teams are grass types, and grass types will have to deal with both Darmanitans, which won't be very fun for them. So I feel like there is that going for this team, but ultimately I do feel like this team falls into the pitfall of like getting a ton of water types that leave you missing a lot of key typings. This being a 9-mon roster, which usually misses out on types, as well as a rain team, which also usually misses out on types, leaves you missing 7 types, which I feel like is a little unacceptable when it comes to draft leagues. Like, I can usually give a pass for missing like 2 or 3, but 7 is a bit much, especially when one of those types is like fairy. I think that's a really important one. You know, there's no normal type, which means there's no ghost immunity. Even your dark type is part psychic, so there's not even a ghost resist on the team. There's no ghost type, which means that switching out fighting spam is gonna be kind of tough. And then there's no poison type either, which means that there's no toxic spikes absorber or anything like that. So while Thunder Spam Regieleki with Terra Ice is an absolute monster, I will have to dock the team like a lot of points for failing to have just so many types included. Yeah, I think Bash kind of covered the rest of what I would say, so I'll pass it over to Crypto.
Yeah, I had this ranked 15th on my list, so near the bottom. Again, nothing to do with the coach. I have no idea how UG is a player, but I'm very excited to see this team because it is an interesting and cool looking squad. And I kind of agree with Sketch as well, that I think it can function outside of rain, although it is very obviously centralized around the rain. It looks like the way he built it, but being that Ferrothorn and Swampert kind of cover each other's weaknesses fairly well, I could see those being like a decent defensive core, and then paired with a lot of those good breakers, he could still utilize the squad pretty efficiently outside of that. But most games he is most likely going to have a hyper offensive type of matchup, and I could see him pulling out some wins, but they most likely would be some, like, if anything, like 2-0 3-0 wins, very like low scoring games, just because he might have to do a lot of trading just with the hyper offensive style he's got going for him. And if he turns this into like some bulky offensive type team somehow, then I would be very impressed. But yeah, no, really cool squad overall. The double Darmanitan brothers is really cool to see, and yeah, I have Regieleki and Arceus, so I'm excited to see what he can do with it in Giratina division as well. This broken version of Regieleki for sure.
Spoilers? What?
Well, shit.
What?
Spoilers about Crypto's team. What do you mean?
Sorry, I'll drop it so it doesn't make sense.
That's the only solution. So I guess we can go ahead and move to 15th.
Yeah.
We have the Winnipeg Blue Blastoise, coached by Kirby. And that is a team consisting of Iron Valiant, Mew, Ursaluna, Greninja, Glamora, Mega Altaria, Blastoise, Jirachi, and Leafeon. And The Terra users are Iron Valiant and Fairy. Wait, the Terra users are Iron Valiant, Fairy, and Leafeon Free. There we go. So, I think that this team, we'll start with the good. I think that this team has the strongest hazard presence of probably any team in this division, with 3 Stealth Rockers, 3 Spike Setters, 2 Toxic Spikers, and there's of course Toxic Debris from Glamora, alongside 2 Defoggers, and then there's a Rapid Spinner and Mortal Spin. There's a lot of good going on here in the hazard department. I also think that there's pretty solid clerical support on the team. You have things like Wish coming in from Jirachi, Wish coming in from Leafeon, and I think that's really good for supporting some of those like bulkier mons like Ursaluna. And so in that sense, I think that this team does have a lot of good going for it. However, I feel like there's just a lot of, and again, this is what I got on the last team for, a lot of missing typings here, and it was a little bit more understandable on a rain team, but on a balanced team like this, missing out on key typings is like really devastating, I think. I think a big one is flying, which admittedly Mega Altaria before Mega Evolving is flying type, but you're not going to want to keep it a flying type for very long, which means that you don't really have switch-ins to Earthquake outside of Leafeon, which is a little concerning. You're also missing Bug, Fire, Ghost, Electric, and Ice. Like, I just feel like there's a lot of missed potential by leaving those typings on the board. So even though there is a lot of good going here for like the hazard game, as well as like pretty decent momentum grabbing, I feel like you could improve the team by maybe building out those type coverages a little bit better.
Yes. Good points for sure. I know I listed Kirby pretty high on my board of teams, just because, again, like I mentioned this a lot in RCSPR. Spoilers, sorry, I know, but I'm a very big advocate for hazards in general, and the fact that he has Glamora plus Greninja, I think, is going to give him a really reliable set of hazards every single week. And Iron Valiant plus any kind of like setup Mew, I feel like are really good abusers of those hazards. Again, probably overvaluing that a little bit, because I agree with Sketch in the sense that this team is lacking quite a bit of typings, and a rain team can kind of function a little bit better without that, knowing that you have a set style going in, kind of get your sweepers in and just abuse the rain as much as possible. But a team like this is a little bit more difficult, I guess, because every mon kind of supports himself, and they're not really as team oriented. If that made any sense, what I just said. I mean, it's not really like it's not a weather-based team. It's kind of, it's an all-over-the-place type of team, but it has fairly decent synergy at the same time. And the ground answer being Leafeon is a little bit sus at the same time, so we'll have to see how Kirby decides to utilize that into the team if he ever faces up against Landorus, or either of the Landoruses, or anything super good, strong on the ground perspective that way. But I'm a big fan of a lot of these mons. I'm really a big fan of Ursaluna as a new mon coming in. I think that's a really strong mon for sure, just overall. Protean Greninja round 4 is pretty insane to get. So he's got some strong mons on this team. And the late Jirachi is interesting too. I know it may have been a little bit nerfed this generation with a few things getting added to play. But other than that, I'm a fan of the concept of this team, even though it might not look the best on paper.
Something I want to really say is, like, I feel like I really like the team, right? Like, it looks really good, but like typically, right, teams can get away with like having not like one of the two like missing, like a grass or electric, right? Because one can cover the other for like dealing with like bulky waters, right? But your team has Leafeon and no electric type, so like your way of like kind of like trying to hit it, like break it usually, right, is going to be Leafeon, which isn't the greatest, to be honest, especially since now it's also your only ground switch in. So I don't know where you want to go with this, especially since you might even Terra it, right? So I don't even know where you're gonna go with the Terra rate, but I think it's gonna be a lot of pressure for. Crazy enough, is gonna be on Leafeon. A lot of games to be able to be the ground soak up, but also to be able to break waters. I don't know. I feel like maybe Mega Altera could probably do it with like a facade set as well if he gets burned or whatever. But overall, I do like I do like Kirby's team. Like it's like really interesting. It works really well together. Those were like the two big things I really noticed. Though is the ground, like as you guys mentioned, the ground weakness except for Leafeon, and then I wanted to mention about the whole pressuring waters. It's gonna be tough, especially for like something like Shell Smash Blastoise. So
Good point. Good point.
Yeah, I think that's all pretty fair. As we can go ahead and move to 14th place, and Crypto, you want to introduce this one?
Yeah, I can go ahead and pull that up. That is going to be our boy Hopeless. He's been in the league for quite a while now, and he's been a great presence to have. So I appreciate you, Hopeless, for sure. Hopeless has the team consistent of a Golden Go, a Galarian Slowking, Ting-Lu, Mega Medicham, Meowscarada, Wishy-Washy, Baxcalibur, Skarmory, Ampharos, Lilligant, and Toucannon. So automatically has the Ampharos on there, so you're getting bonus points from me, my guy. And also, that is a very early Wishy-Washy, but I respect it. If you got some good plans for it, then hey, Sketch, you got it too, man. You guys could really show off Wishy-Washy this season, just saying.
spoilers,
Yes,
bro.
sir.
Spoilers. What is
Sir.
going on, Crypto?
Wishy-Washy Brothers, yes sir.
Yes. And just like in Arceus division, I'm a big fan of the Golden Go teams. I feel like both coaches utilize the hazard stack approach really well with this and have good abusers at the same time. There's a Mega Medicham team with Golden Go hazard support is really, really scary. He's got a Meowscarada, which I feel like is a good abuser of that as well. And his main spike setters are Ting-Lu and Skarmory, which are two just big bitches, honestly. Just big old bitches.
And cancel.
You hate to see them. You hate to see them when you pull up to a matchup.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's an interesting team. He's got a lot of interesting low tier mons. Ampharos is a little questionable. I love Ampharos, and I really hope you can pull something off with it. I don't know. That's not his Terramon, is it? Let me scroll down a little bit more.
It's not.
No.
Damn it. He's got Lilligant and Baxcalibur.
God damn, 16th place. 16th place.
Big mistake. But yeah, no, I like the concept of this team. It's something I feel like I'd love to use in a draft at some point, something along these lines. But until then, I'm going to enjoy watching you from the sidelines using it. And yeah, really big fan. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
My one thing I want to discuss is the fact that you don't have a fairy, which is kind of, I feel like it's like towards like now, right? Like fairies are becoming a lot more crucial to the teams, to be honest. I know you have two steel types, right? And Ghostango and Skarmory, but I still feel like having a fairy, because teams are gonna still be able to click Outrage or like Draco Meteor, and it's still gonna hurt. Like, so I feel like having those fairies are really nice to help support the team. But other than that, I did like the team. I felt like had like a good momentum, right? I was really interested though about the Baxcalibur being poison, because typically Baxcalibur struggles with breaking the steel types. Like the one thing it really wants to break is like steel types, right? Because of its dual stab, right? So I was very curious about why poison. I would have thought that maybe something like ground maybe could have been better or something like that, or I don't know, but I was just curious about that. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts. Sketch, do you have anything or?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Baxcalibur does naturally get Earthquake, but I do agree that a way to like, I guess, hit those steel types a little bit harder would be nice. I guess the idea there is to hit fairy types, but yeah, I guess I can get behind it. I did see the Baxcalibur poison and think that there was probably a better typing for it, but I couldn't say off the top of my head what exactly that would be yet. Maybe even just like Terra Dragon or Terra Ice, just to like do insane damage once you get like a Dragon Dance up or something. But no, overall, I'm a little conflicted on this team. I think I had it ranked a little bit lower than you guys. But I'll start with the good. I think that the hazard control is really, really strong here. And that's paired with Golden Go, which is obviously very nice since it'll be difficult to get rid of the hazards you set up. I also think, I don't think either of you have mentioned yet, that they have Chilly Reception into Baxcalibur, which is going to be such a menace. It gets that big defense boost, making it like really, really bulky. Excalibur already like naturally has pretty good amount of HP. And then it also has Ice Body as the ability. So there's a lot of good things that you can do with that there. I was personally, because I have Excalibur and Arceus, and I was personally hoping to try and get Chilly Reception as well, but I got sniped, unfortunately. So I'm jealous. I'm sorry. I'm a little jealous. I think that'll be something really fun to play around with. But I think another shout out goes to Mega Metacham getting Trailblaze now. Will be really, really clean, I think. Some of the low point mons felt a little weird to me. Like Lilligant, I don't think Lilligant is bad or anything, but you do already have Meowscarada, and then Toucannon also felt like a little bit strange to me. Like Bash said, I think that you would really, really benefit from having a fairy type. And I also don't really like that the only mon on your team faster than base 100 speed is the Meowscarada, especially considering it's weak to common priority moves like Ice Shard and Mach Punch. That just leaves you with a team that's really, really slow, I think. You would definitely benefit from picking up a couple more mons above the base 100 or even above the base 110 mark. But, no, I do think that there's a lot of good going for this team, but just some of those drawbacks I think held it back from some of the other drafts that we saw this season.
No, those are completely valid points. I didn't even really take into account that the team's pretty slow under hazard, like a hazard stack heavy team, which I think that you should always have a few mons that have like good cleaning capabilities, and he does have a few, but may rely on some kind of like speed setup in certain ways with like Trailblaze, Mega Metacham and stuff, which could be good. But yeah, that's a good one. And you ready to move on here? Did we feel like we covered that pretty good?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So in 13th place, we have the U-Turn Jazz, coached by a longtime coach of Krash now, even back to UPC days, Catastrophe. And he has a team consisting of, if I can find him in my notes, there we go. He's got the Iron Bundle, Mega Charizard X, Enamorus Incarnate, Donphan, Tangrowth, Iron Hands, Hisuian Zoroark, Overquill, Bronzong, and Colossal, with the Terra users being Iron Bundle Water and Colossal as the free Terra user. Right off the bat, I want to give credit for him having a draft that hits all 18 typings. Always a big fan of that, so well done to you on that, Kurt. I do kind of wish that this team had more than just Iron Bundle to break the base 110 speed mark, but I do like the team overall. I think it's just like that cluster of base 50 mods, like Donphan, Tangrowth, and Iron Hands all being at 50, makes this draft feel like a little bit on the slower side overall. Granted, there are a few mods above base 100, which I always recommend having, but I do feel like it could be like maybe a little bit faster. I think it's got a pretty strong Firewater Grass core with Zard X, Tangrowth, and Iron Bundle, as well as a really solid Fairy Dragon Steel core with the Zard X, Bronzong, and Enamorus. Solid hazard setting and two pretty good rapid spinners, which I think is important because the drawback is that the only defogger here is Charizard. And from that perspective, spin blockers are going to be a nightmare for this team. Like a bulky ghost type or something like that is going to be really, really threatening to your draft because Zard X obviously doesn't appreciate hazards being up, and I don't think that you have the most consistent way to get rid of them. So I'll have to dock some points there. But I do like this team a lot. It's just lacking in that area.
I would like to add on to Sketch's note about the removal. Because if you look, the first three mods we mentioned, his first top three mods are all taking like 25-50% from stealth rocks.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a huge thing, especially when they're kind of like I would say his breakers or sleepers, to be honest, majorly I would say, unless you want to consider Iron Hands. I know Crypto would love to say consider Iron Hands, but realistic, like I want to just say like straight up though, like breakers wise, like I think those are really his mons, and the fact that like Donphan and Colossal, like the only form is like rapid spin, that like these spin blockers are going to be quite an issue for him. And I don't know how, like he might need to make some moves to try to fix that off this team. I would also love to see, I think, more ways to get Iron Bundle in. Iron Bundle really appreciates being able to get like momentum into it, so it's able to just break easily. You know, get a free switch in, because it's though it has like some decent defense, it has like not he does not want to take a hit. And the Spadef is not great at all. So I think that that's one of the mons that he might want to like try to like get some more like momentum, you know, some U-turn, volt whatever cores to get it in, and so it could hit even harder. Because the more Iron Bundle comes in, the better, to be honest. Something I also want to note is Colossal being a Terra captain could be really interesting with Steam engine, is it? I think the ability.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of teams are going to be running the water water move to hit it, and it could just tear grass and get like its +6 boost, and then tear past the water types, which typically can't really hit that water types that hard, but now it can. But I really would like to see like maybe like a defogger on the team, or that isn't like Charizard X, and some like maybe some more ways to get Iron Bundle, and like even an Amorous in, to be honest, because that does not want to take hits either. So
yeah, I had to like read up on Steam Engine after you said that, because I feel like that never actually comes into play. But you're right, that could be really, really scary now.
Gonna see the first ever Colossal Sleep, baby.
Let's go.
Freaking, I do think he's actually missing a bug type though, Sketch. I think that's the only type he's missing on this one. Otherwise, should have everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. I miscounted.
Nah, you good. Freaking. The speed thing is kind of bothering me a little bit. When I look at this team, like it has like decent high-end speed, but obviously it's got the bundle, which is really fast, and an Amorous. But then like his slow mons are like really slow. So like you probably already mentioned that there's a speed gap problem. Aside, I guess Overquill kind of fills it a little bit. But other than that, it's like his fat mons are like very slow. So I don't know why that's bothering me so much in this team, but they just look fat on the images. I mean, that's what's bothering me.
whoa.
No. Nothing on any of those mons. They're all solid mons and everything, but just thought I'd throw that out there. But yeah, no, I overall don't have a huge problem with the team. I agree with Sketch and Bash that it definitely needs a little bit better hazard support, and a defogger would be pretty clutch, considering I think most times you're going to want to play without hazards on the field throughout the whole game. But I actually really like Hisui and Zork on this team as well. I think it could cause a lot of problems as far as I think it's just a good mind game mon, especially on this type of team where you have a lot of hard hitters, and if you can, you know, force the hard hitting like counters, like if they think you have Iron Bundle in or whatever, and they have to go to their dedicated answer, and you have some kind of Hisui and Zork set that can just mess it up, then you could set up a bundle for a really good end game. And I think he paired it on the right type of team for sure in this case. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there.
Yeah, I think that all sounds pretty good. So go ahead and move on to 12th place. And Bash, I'll let you introduce this one.
So 12th place, we got Vanilla, and Vanilla has Fu, Zeraora, Anamorous, Therian, Aegislash, Kyurem, Slitherwing, Quagsire, Mega Sceptile, Braviary, Cryogonal, and Nacli. With the Terra user being Chi-Yu Fire and Braviary for free.
Yeah, why'd you laugh at Nacli?
Because it is an interesting one. I've never seen drafted. So,
because it's new. That's why, you know, it's because it's new.
Yeah, sure. But the first thing I noticed, right, is there is no grounded poison. And that is not great on the team when I believe his only forms of removal are Cryogonal and Braviary. So from there, you're running into this issue of T-Spikes running kind of mayhem on your team. A lot of your team is affected by it, and you don't want, like, some of the mons like Quagsire, you do not want poisoned, because then it's going to become an issue, a very big issue.
Yeah, same with
also,
Nacli.
Yes, exactly. But also that means that with you having only Braviary and Cryogonal, that if you want to be able to remove hazards, what you're going to want to do for Chi-Yu, because it's not going to appreciate taking rocks, one of them has to come to the game. Meaning you're taking these, like, no offense, but lower tier mons that you could be using, like, when you could be using like some of these higher tier mons like Slitherwing instead. You might have to keep it on the bench that week because you have to bring removal. And that also takes away from the ability for Braviary to Terra, because it's not gonna be able to run these offensive sets that it wants to do with the Terra type. Instead, it's gonna have to be put in this position where it's gonna have to run Defog for vanilla. So I'm hoping that maybe something will be fixed with that. But those are like a really big problems I see with vanilla's team. So in addition, on top of that, there is no heal bell. Meaning, if you get poisoned by the T-Spikes, it is here to stay, and it's not going away unless you rest. So, yeah. When you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. T-Spikes are a big issue. And although I did say that Nacli does not appreciate being poisoned, I will say it does get Purifying Salt. So it can't be poisoned. So that's something going for this team, I think. No, I will say I think Terra Fire Chi-Yu is obviously a monster. Like, that thing's just gonna be so hard to switch in on. But it just kind of feels like something's missing from this team. And I don't know, like, when I was looking at it, it was kind of hard for me to sum up what my issue was, but I do feel like Bash sort of explained it well. It felt like the lack of clerical support is a big thing here, and also the lack of momentum kind of struck me, because I mean, there is like Volt Switch Zeraora and U-turn Slitherwing, but aside from that, I think it's literally just U-turn Braviary is the only way to regain momentum, which isn't really great. As Bash said, the hazard control isn't really great either. It's relying on 2 low tier mons. Braviary especially doesn't really want to run defog, I don't think. Cryogonal can, but how often does Cryogonal want to show up? I'm not really sure. And while the cores are solid here, I don't think that they're anything crazy. I kind of just saw this as like a very, very aggressively like medium draft. Like, it's not really the worst thing ever, but I don't see anything like super threatening here outside of like Chi-Yu and like maybe Zeraora in the right matchup. But I guess it's like still solid regardless, but just a lot of areas I think you could improve. I will say too, I think that there are a lot of types that you could go without in a draft. I don't think Psychic is one of those. I think Psychic is a very important type to have that this team is unfortunately missing.
Yeah, that's all good points for sure. And kind of going back to hazards here is I think that if you have a team that's going to be at least very weak to hazards, or a team that doesn't have very good removal, then you want to at least have a team that can, fire back the hazards and have a good plan to, fire 1 for 1 and oh god, having my freaking stutter moment here again. Freaking, what am I trying to say? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you got it.
Here, hype me up.
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, what I'm trying to say is,
Tell him,
Quagsire is kind of that dude who's gonna have to get up the hazards.
Yes, sir.
And yeah, he's like your only one other than Nacli, and that's not really that good.
That's true. Oh no.
It's not good, and your team's pretty weak to hazards, and that's what I was trying to say. And you wanna, the only way to counteract that is to get hazards up on their side, and you're not gonna be able to do that because Quagsire is, not that guy.
Don't you? Oh no, you have Clodsire. I was like, don't you have Quagsire? No, you got Cloudsire, the
Please,
Chad.
bro.
You got the
Oh,
Chad
man.
Cloudsire instead of the Virgin Quagsire.
Yeah, no. Overall, he's got a lot of like cool breakers, though. I mean, that team's. I would not want to switch into a lot of those mons. Like, it does not look like a fun team to prep for on paper, so I would give it that. And yeah, overall, could just be it's a really good 1-for-1 mon team with Chiyu and Kyurem is really good at that. I'd say Mega Sceptile even. So I don't know. Just I would like better hazard support overall. That's my biggest thing with this team. But I like the colorfulness of this team. It's pretty nice too.
Ooh, the colorfulness. That's
Oh
important.
man,
Gotta
those are
bring that
extra
in.
points, you know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's like the 1.1 boost, you know.
Yeah, I guess with that we're good to move on to the 11th place team, that being PC Barcelona, coached by Shadow Champion. And I'll start off with this one because I had it ranked considerably higher than you guys did. That is the team of Palafin, Hisui and Lilligant, Hisui and Braviary, Gliscor, Mega Beedrill, Empoleon, Cyclizar, Florges, Jolteon, Typhlosion, Frostlass, and Tyranitar. This is a team, again, that hits 18 types. I mean, last time I said that I was wrong, but I think that this one does it, which is good. I think that you have 3 really solid Stealth Rock users in T-Tar, Empoleon, and Gliscor are all very, very reliable at that, I think. Granted, I don't think that T-Tar or Gliscor always want to run Stealth Rocks, but I feel like with Empoleon there, you have 3 that, like, in any matchup, you can fit Stealth Rocks onto one of their builds, which is pretty important. Frostlass gives you a Spike Setter. Mega Beedrill, although it doesn't always want to run it, does give you Toxic Spikes. You got a Rapid Spin user with Cyclizar. And then you have 6 Defoggers, which is like ridiculous. Like, I feel like your hazard removal is probably the best in the league. And then on top of that, I feel like Florges offers pretty solid clerical support. I think the team has really strong momentum. I think the speed tiers are really good here. And then, like I mentioned, with all 18 types on the draft, I feel like you should be able to respond to the major threats of most types. Obviously there are going to be some outliers, but I feel like you at least have like the resources to address certain threats, which is nice. I do think, you're lacking a slow mon to counter Trick Room. I think that's a pretty important thing, especially on a team that has fast threats like Jolteon and Mega Beedrill, because Trick Room is a pretty easy way to take advantage of teams like that. So I think in cases like this, it's important to have something like base 30 speed or so to handle that. And then I would also say that I think Hisui and Braviary is a really good pickup for sure. I don't know how I feel about it being the Terra user, and this is biased because Ambassador's gonna call out for spoilers, but I have Jolteon, and I think Jolteon is just a better Terra user over Braviary, solely for the fact that Braviary is going to deal a lot of damage regardless, because it has Tinted Lens and it has Sheer Force, so it doesn't really need to Terrastalize in order to be a menace in a matchup, if that makes sense. Whereas Jolteon, without having Terrastalize as an option, is gonna obviously get walled by like ground types, since we don't allow hidden power. But overall, I think that this is a very solid team. I think it's very well rounded. But I'll pass it to one of you guys if you want to talk about it.
What's it? No, I ranked this team lower for sure, but giving it an extra look, I agree that it's definitely got some good balance to it. I think it just looks a little bit more underwhelming than the rest of the teams, I guess. I mean, Palafin as the #1 pick is still fine, and I think it's a big threat in its own right. But as I kind of go down the list, it's like there's definitely like threats, but nothing that like pops off the screen is like, oh god, I'm gonna straight up lose, I guess, kind of thing. And maybe to me, I don't know, maybe I'm just a little biased towards mons like Florges, which I'm not a big fan of, and Empoleon. Even Gliscor in this kind of meta at this point where it's super offensive, and I feel like it kind of doesn't utilize that typing as good as mons like Landorus could, or
Gligar.
Or Gligar even at this no. It's not better than Gligar, but or like Tyranitar. I don't know. It feels like it might be a little bit outdated in that sense, but at the same time they can still function really well. And I think him having all 18 types this time, and trust me, I was counting very thoroughly. Like I was making sure you were this time, and you were. No, I think that all 18 types on this team that is a really good thing for this team, just because it's, like I said, super balanced all around. And I think that it's just gonna be very annoying to prep for, in the sense that every single mon has like good viability in every given matchup, because there's not like one bad mon on this team. Like everything's super solid in its own right. So yeah, and really solid hazards across the board. I would agree that it's some of the better hazards in the league as far as the Giratina division goes. And yeah, I'm really excited to see what the pick 3 Hisui and Braviary can do too, because I don't know if that got picked up in RCS, to be honest.
I don't think it did, but I actually think it's like a really big sleeper threat for sure.
Same. Yeah.
I like now looking at it, like his team looks a lot better than I thought it was, but like I don't know, like looking at it, it felt like a little bit underwhelming. As I think like to add what like I guess like what Crypto was saying, it doesn't really like other than profit, it doesn't feel like that like this. I don't know. It's just the feel of it. Like it's like not really like a standout. Like there's like looking at it like in deeper, right? Like it looks like a really good team. It really could function really well. It's got like a lot of momentum. It's got a lot of support, wish support as well. It has really good hazard removal. It gets all, as Sketch and Crypto both mentioned, has all the types. So I think this team, even though I put it a little bit lower on the lower side, I think it actually is really good. And I think I kind of missed some of the parts to it, to be honest. I think Sketch kind of brought some clarity to it, and I think it's actually higher than I probably should have put it. So, yeah.
No, I honestly like. I actually had this team at first place for a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be an interesting discussion," because I had it at first, and then it's at last on Crypto's list. But I took like a closer look, and I was like, I kind of came to the same conclusion that you guys are saying, that it does feel a little bit underwhelming in terms of like the actual mons, but like on paper, I feel like this team has everything that it needs to be really successful. It's just a matter of like implementing them well. Like I think that your prep is going to be something that's like pretty easy to get through, but the play is going to have to be like out of your mind, I think, for this to be like the scariest team. Like I think it has everything you need to make it that, but you're going to have to be playing really, really well in order to make it that, if that makes sense.
Nah, I get you. Completely off topic, but can you guys hear that fan?
No, I can't.
Oh, thank God, because I was like burning up. Okay, good.
Oh.
Yeah, might have to start playing a little bit of strip PR, if you know what I mean.
Yes, sir.
Round 2, baby.
Why don't we kick that off with 10th place? We got the Charlotte Slither Wings, coached by Odds and Crypto. You want to go ahead and strip and maybe introduce that?
Yeah, okay, so Odds, I've been thinking about you. I mean, your team for quite a while. So, anyways, it seems you went with the good old classic Landorus Incarnate Mega Mawile Core, which is never fun to face. Yeah, it's never fun to face. And then you got the Rillaboom, Slowking, Rotom Heat, Crocodile, Crobat, Terrakion, and Wigglytuff. And when I first took the initial look at the team, I saw Wigglytuff. I was like, man, really primary, that's your fairy type or whatever. But then I remembered Mawile's part fairy too, so I can support the Wigglytuff pick that more now, because I think a Wishpasser is actually pretty cool on this team, with things like the Rotom and Crocodile, and even like Rillaboom, which could really take advantage of that quite well if you can bring it to any matchup. But no, I think you did a wonderful job pairing the Mega Mawile and Landorus up with a good team, being the Rillaboom gives it good terrain, which obviously is nice, and then you have the good slow pivots and Slowking, and even Rotom if you want it to be slower in some matchups. So I think you're definitely going to have to rely on a lot of your kills going through those top two, and I guess Terrakion as well. Terrakion can be a good option, and you have Rillaboom. Never mind, forget that take. That was a terrible take. You have really good mods that can get kills. That was a terrible take. Anyways, yeah, I really like this team. Let me see where I ranked it on my list in general. I think I had it at let's see, I had it 11th. I mean, there's just a lot of good teams overall. So 11th on my list is actually pretty high, to be honest, considering all the teams from there on out are really good, and in my opinion, just slightly better. But I'm excited to see it be used. Wigglytuff, I hope you bring it to a few matchups, maybe to pick up the slack for Mega Mawile whenever you can, and then hopefully show off the new Nasty Plot Landorus quite effectively too. And really good removal on this team for sure. Very good removal on this team overall with Crobat, Rotom, and well, I guess it's Crobat, Rotom, and Landorus, so it's not amazing, but it's not bad. It's not bad either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like this team pretty good.
You know, this team is interesting to me because it's a 9-mon team in which over half of the mons get stealth rocks. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that is the only hazard the team has access to. But that does mean that, like, in any given matchup, you should have rocks, I feel like because you just have so many different ways that you could squeeze that in. It is literally impossible for you to bring a mon that doesn't have stealth rocks. So that'll be pretty good for you, I think. I think you have a lot of options for how you could get rocks up in a given match, and I think that rocks are going to be really, really important for Landorus and Mega Mawile and even Rillaboom to pick off those kills that it wants to. Terrakion too is a really good breaker. I think one thing, I don't think Crypto mentioned the Terra types, but Landorus being Terra Ground, good lord, that is just gonna nuke everything. And something interesting, like I'm really curious to see how Wigglytuff does with the ability to switch its type, because Wigglytuff has like a ton of HP, but I feel like, you know, giving it the ability to fill in like a niche typing for specific matchups could be really, really solid, especially as like a Wish Passer. Because I feel like Wigglytuff does get pretty good coverage, and obviously it's not going to be like the offensive star of the team or anything, but like it does have like things like the random ice coverage that could be useful for like a dragon flying or a dragon ground or something. You could do some really creative things with them on like Wigglytuff, I guess, because it's from that era where normal types just get every single move in the game for whatever reason. So I'm interested to see what that can do. I think Wish Pass into Mawile is really good too, especially since those are two fairies that don't share weaknesses. So that's pretty clean. I do feel like this team would benefit from having a dragon type, especially one that carries Dragon Dance, because I feel like this team is like lacking in setup just a little bit. I mean, I do think like Rock Polish, Landorus, and Swordsmith Mega Mawile, of course, are options, but I feel like because there's no way to switch in on Landorus, a lot of people will just come to the conclusion that like my only play is to stay in and attack it to prevent it from getting that Rock Polish or that Nasty Plot off. And in that sense, it's like this team feels like maybe it's struggling to find something that can reliably set up and like get that speed boost and then clean up the game at the end. It has a lot of breakers, and I think that's going to be really good. And I feel like the game plan is going to be based around those breakers. But maybe something like Dragon Dance would be really helpful on a team like this.
Did you mention though the Terrakion though for Rock Polish?
Yeah, Terrakion, yeah, is definitely a solid Rock Polish option.
Yeah.
Actually, before I pass it to Bash, hold that thought, because I thought of something else too. You don't have an Ice type, you don't have a Dragon type, and well, I was gonna say your fairy is Wigglytuff, but there is also the Mega Mawile. I don't know. I just feel like maybe dragons could be a little bit annoying, but there is a Mega Mawile to contend with. It's just that Mega Mawile having base 50 speed and a lot of dragons getting things like Earthquake might be able to exploit the fact that you don't offensively pressure them a ton. But now I'll pass it to Bash for real this time.
I'm gonna add to that real quick though. I will say that Mega Mawile can actually be very bulky if you really want to. I personally, when I run Mega Mawile sets, I like to make it like a bulky SD set, and in order to take the hits because it's so slow. And also, you said about the Earthquake, right? He has grassy terrain, which is gonna help a lot with that at least. Obviously, like Mega Mawile being probably the primary fairy, because I don't know how often Wigglytuff's gonna come, and Wigglytuff was probably gonna tear anyway. Dragon still might be an issue, with that being the only way to like resist immunity, whatever, to it, right? But my biggest thing I noticed, and I probably feel like I say this a lot now, and like a lot of the PRs, but there is no T-Spike absorber. And I know we said that, like, I know there does have a poison in Crobat, but it's not absorbing T-Spikes, which is gonna suck a little bit for like things like Slow King, right, that don't want to be poisoned. With Landorus, once it actually like Terras, right, Terra Ground, and it's gonna get affected by poison. Rillaboom's gonna get affected by poison. They're not gonna want to take this extra chip. I will say though, like the 3 defoggers. Well, I would say 2 really, because you're not running. And to be honest, he's probably not running defog on Landorus because he's gonna use Landorus to just break every game. But Rotom and Heat and Crobat are probably gonna have to come to a lot of games because of the addition of T-Spikes to a lot of teams, a lot of players, a lot of Pokemon in general. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it, I guess.
Just wanted to add, unfortunately, I'm just not realizing, but the team is really Scald weak. You have Rillaboom, which can handle it, but other than that, like, it does not appreciate burns, like, all across the board. I guess Wigglytuff's your best answer to that, but I guess he's got Slowking, but, like, other than that, I still feel like he's not really appreciating it overall if you look at the across the board. But, that could be a juiced opinion, I suppose.
No, I would agree with you.
And maybe I would have liked to have seen a different dark type. Maybe it just could be the redundancy on typings I'm not a huge fan of, but I don't love Crocodile on that spot. I feel like there could have been a few other mons to potentially patch that. But yeah, that's my thoughts as well.
Yeah, no, I think that all makes sense. So I guess with that, we're good to move to 9th place, and that is the Chicago Fire and Ice, coached by T. Riches. But first, I really got to go pee, dog. If you land like around 8th place, he might take a pee break. I don't know, but
You? Me? You think this is funny? In a cosmic sort of way, yes.
Because we'll take like a quick break.
We got this. We'll take care of
it. Okay. I'll be right back. You guys cover it.
You really let Crypto and I take over. This is gonna be
okay,
great.
it's all you. Don't let me down.
Oh God.
Alright,
Okay.
I got this, Bash. Don't you
You got
worry.
this? Okay.
Alright, so anyways, guys, we're going to go a quick commercial break, but with that being said, go ahead and get your Magnum XLs in store right now. In packaging, we've got $4.99 for the Magnum XLs. We've got $8.99 for the Magnum Smalls, which I know Bash personally loves. And anyways, kicking it over to you, Bash. What do you have to say?
Short King gang.
Short King gang. Short King in the pants, gang.
Yes.
Right. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and get on the treadmill real quick and get a nice workout in. I know why we're doing this. So if I start grunting a lot, I promise it's not anything sexual. It's just me on the treadmill. All right, go ahead, Bash.
Okay, so we can take it off with T Riches and Truch's team. We got Drago, Caesar, Rotom Wash, Iron Rock. Oh man, Crypto must really be exercising over there. Oh man. Metagross, Cloyster, Mega Chomp, and Moga and Scrafty, with the Terra users being Iron Moth Fairy and Cloyster being the free Terra, or the furry Terra. No.
Wait, what? Yo, Bash, you want to just play Soul Link for a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Why not?
Yeah, let's hijack the entire video, you know?
Okay. Sure. Wait, who are we doing again? Oh, T. Riches. Shit. Sorry, he's one of the new coaches too. This is disrespectful.
Yeah. Let's go back.
Back to T. Riches. You're right.
So T. Riches, things I had to talk about. First off, there is no Heal Bell, which is gonna suck. For things like Sneasler, Cloyster, Metagross, Mega Garchomp.
Yeah, I hate when my Sneasler gets poisoned. That sucks.
Well, it could get burned though. That's what I'm saying. It get burned, you know.
I was just kidding, Bash. Jeez.
Oh man. Okay.
Right,
Well. So back to Apparently, Sketch is back, but
yo, that was the most sensational pee break of my life, you guys.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Should've put us with you.
We're all good now. We're all good.
Yeah. Well, I was going into this basically. One thing I want to know. Basically, I want to know is that like one of the things I want to know is that like Scrafty is his only Ghost Resist, right, or Ghost Switching per se, right? When you have things like Dragapult and Metagross who are not going to appreciate Ghost. I'm assuming Ghost Band's going to come a lot, and a lot of Ghost types actually started to get Fairy coverage now. Specifically, like say like Spectrier gets Draining Kiss now, so like these I'm on like Scrafty. As much as I love using Scrafty, is not going to be really as big of a good a switch in as it used to be. Maybe something adding like a normal type would be really nice for this team. Then on top of that, I think this team has pretty good like hazard setting options, right? And some really good setup as well. I pull Sneasler, Iron Moth, like Cloyster, and
I did not like
all really good setup. I'm really excited to see how this goes. Iron Moth Fairy is a very interesting pick. I did not expect that. I was not really, but I'm excited to see what it has in store for us. And then Cloyster being like the Terra mon, I didn't realize that we put like Cloyster so like low enough to be that, because that's actually kind of like annoying to deal with.
Yeah.
Like Shell Smash or Quiver Dance like that? Jeez.
Yeah. Well, wait, Quiver Dance?
No, I'm saying like any mon like that with Shell Smash or Quiver Dance.
I think you're talking about Iron Moth. I was like, wait, because I thought you confused
I thought you were saying Quiver Dance Cloyster.
No.
Yo, I wish. Yo, if you want to bring that, that's fine.
Yeah, but Cloyster, I don't know. It's great. It's great. But it sounds like it sounds like Crypto's back now. So I think we should go to Crypto next.
What? I've never left.
Hey guys, this is Crypto. I'm back.
Alright, go ahead and implement face cam right now. Sketch. Pow. Alright. Anyway,
you know, Bash mentioned how like a lot of ghost types are getting fairy coverage, and another one I wanted to call out is I'm pretty sure they gave Mimikyu play rough this gen, which is like crazy, dude. So you gotta watch out for that. No, I think that this team has a lot of big threats, a lot of big fast threats in Dragapult, Sneasler, and Iron Moth particularly. They all just hit really hard with a good speed to back them up. I think that Screamtail is a really good Wish Passer for the team. There's not a ton that wants to take advantage of Wish Pass, but I do think like giving those kind of beefy wishes into like Metagross or Cloyster or even like Mega Garchomp would appreciate it. It's pretty solid support to add in here. I think it's really strange that this team has exclusively dual typing mons and still managed to leave out 4 types on the board. With 2 of those types being Bug and Grass, I'm a little concerned about your ability to switch in on ground hits, because your flying type is Emolga, which I don't think is gonna show up super often. And so I feel like there's gonna be like a lot of pressure on like Rotom Wash to come in and just like make use of Levitate. But if there's anything like, you know, Mold Breaker, Earthquake to watch out for, then you might be in a little bit of trouble. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's a pretty solid team with a good amount of threats for sure.
Yeah, no, all fair points. And at first I was going to kind of give the team a hard time about not having the greatest ground answers. I mean, yes, he's got a Rotom Wash, but there are Mold Breaker mons, and I do not want to disrespect Emolga anymore, because one of my treacherous memories from League is losing a finals because of primarily an Emolga, so I will always give that thing lots of respect. As a 1-point mon, I think that is definitely underrated, and a steal at that. And yeah, I think it's a really cool team in the sense that the double poison and the double dragon is stuff you wouldn't really see a whole lot, but I can definitely see it working. And the biggest thing that I was going to point out too is the lack of the ghost resist and having just the Scrafty there, but maybe certain Kasib berries and certain aspects can be cool to catch a few things off guard. Sorry if I'm exploiting you a little bit there, but I'm pretty sure most people know what a Kasib berry does at this point. If you don't, we're probably going to kick you. but
Whoa, that's toxic, bro. That's toxic.
no, Cassieve's actually the ghost bear. I didn't know if you knew that, Bash, but it's not the poison one.
Apparently I did. Apparently I did.
Just figured I'd let you know that.
Yeah.
I don't want Bash to get kicked.
I know you know what a Babiri berry is. You can ask Larry.
Oh my god.
Anyways, I really like the priority on this team too. Metagross, Cloyster. He's got the Dragapult, Sneasler. Overall, the Scrafty doesn't get Sucker Punch, right? No, I don't think that's a thing.
Unless
overall,
unless it's new, but I don't think so.
I don't think so. But overall, solid priority, and just in my opinion, just a cool looking squad overall. Something you wouldn't see a whole lot, so I always appreciate creativity. I give that some plus points. And yeah, so that is my thoughts as well.
Cool. Well, with that, we can kick off the upper half of the rankings, going into 8th place. We got the Midtown Muse, coached by Harrison. I think that this is really interesting. The average is exactly 8, and they landed at 8th place. And the reason the average is exactly 8th is because Crypto had this team at 12th, Bash had the team at 4th, and I had the middle ground of 8th place. So this is probably going to be the best variety of opinions that any team is going to get in these rankings, at least theoretically. But yeah, I'll let you guys go first, and then I'll give the middle ground answer, I guess.
Okay. Wait, should I go ahead and knock him down so you guys can bring him back up?
Yeah. Let's just destroy his confidence.
Yo, Harrison, this team sucks. Stop the week. I'm just kidding, dog. You're a Speed 4 veteran. You're a very good chat presence, and I love your presence in the community overall. For real, big shout outs. It's always great to have the Crash community popping off, and this season you've been a nice help to that. So I really appreciate it. You're a nice just presence overall. So yeah. But anyways, your team. Gonna have to get into it a little bit. You got Tornadus Therian, which I'll give you a +4 because that's a goated mon right there. One of my favorites for sure. You got the Melmetal, Annihilate, Victini, Clodsire, Obstagoon, Sylveon, Rotom-Mow, Alamomola, and Ninjask. I don't know. It feels to me that this could be a juiced opinion, but it feels a little underwhelming. I know he's got the Melmetal at 2nd pick. To me, that seems a little early. I know Sketch probably has a different opinion on that. Getting the Victini round 4 is definitely a boost, I will say that. But I would have definitely made the Victini the Terramon on this team. Terra Steel Melmetal is a little scary, but I think it's got, at this point in the game, it's got enough counterplay to it that it can be shut down a little bit. Not shut down, but like slowed down, more so than a Victini. Just because if you create, go boom. And yeah, not fun to switch into. The 1-point Ninjask is definitely a good flex. I think any kind of high speed control like that is something that anybody has to prep for, because if you go into a matchup and you don't have a very good bug switch in and you just neglect that 1-point Ninjask, it outspeeds your entire team. You're in for a rude awakening for sure. The Sylveon plus Clodsire pairing is really nice, just because Wish Pass into that thing is really annoying overall. It's always good to have an unaware mon. And I really think it's the team's got a good defensive synergy. I didn't even mention Wish Sylveon into Melmetal, so that's very annoying to begin with. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to gas it too much because I know you guys had high opinions on it, so I'll go ahead and let you get into that. Whoever wants to take over for it next.
I could take over.
Yeah.
First off, honestly, like, are you saying it's underwhelming? But there's a torn T on this screen, bro. I don't know what you're saying. But honestly, the defense, breaking through this team is actually going to be a lot more difficult than I think like people are saying, right? Because you have like the combination of like Alamola, Sylveon, Clodsire, Melmetal. I don't think anybody's breaking that like really well. Like, it's pretty tough to break through that. With the combination of Wish Passing from both Alamola and Sylveon to heal both Melmetal and Clodsire as well with the Unaware ability. And Melmetal pretty much lives every hit. Like, Sketch could attest to this. Like, it literally lives. It lives like any hit. It's crazy. And I think the fact that you have not one but two amazing Wish Passers into it is going to make this team so much more difficult to be able to break through. On top of that, you have Torn T with Regenerator, which is really good, but you could also be able to bring in those steel types so Victini could just go crazy on it. On top of that, Annihilate Annihilate's gonna make you think twice about clicking like attacking moves because it's gonna get that Rage Fist boosted, and then it's GG at that point because then it's scary right there. It gets up to like 300 base powers, I think, where it goes to max to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Or
crazy.
no, is it 3? Yeah.
It might be 300, I think. I'm not sure, but I also want to mention that Alamo also gets Baton Pass now, so it has a way of momentum, which is really good for it because I think it needed it really badly.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking that wish support from Alamo with Regenerator with Baton Pass, so it basically could just pick which Pokemon it wants to heal up each turn, which is crazy as well. And then I'm really excited. I hope you bring it at least once this season. Ninjask. I really want to see you bring Ninjask once this season at least, and just go ham with it. Honestly, I really hope so. But I think this team has like a lot of momentum, which is really good, and the team has a lot of just like ways to like take hits, and I think that's going to be really important for the team. That's why I put it really high up. Actually, I really like the team a lot. So, and I think it has pretty good removal as well, and Torn T and Rotom Mo. I guess like Ninjask, I guess too, but whatever.
Ninjask.
Ninjask, yo. I mean, it can run the heavy dude boots defog, bro. It gets the fastest defog off in the Lance, but
Facts.
but yeah, it's got some pretty good hazard setting, right? Got Heal Bell, right? It gets Party Shot from Alpha. I think like this team has like a really good potential. It has I will agree though with Crypto. I really wish that he went Victini for the Terra, or even Tornadus would have been crazy. I feel like. But I don't know. Yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Sketch, do you want to finish this one off?
Yeah, I'll start with the Terras since that was what you ended on. Yeah, Torn T with Terra would have been crazy. Like, I'm just thinking, like, because you know how, like, everybody has to, like, run boots on, like, Torn T, so that way you can, like, get his regen without, like, having to come back in on rocks. Like, imagine, like, Steel type Torn T or something like that, where you could just run, like, Life Orb, come in, like, get your Hurricanes, and not have to worry about, like, Stealth Rocks when you come back in. That'd be, like, super clean for sure. I love Melmetal. I'm probably, like, Melmetal's biggest fan, but even I think that maybe there were better options for the Terra. I would probably recommend Victini, like Terra Fire Victini or something, solely because Victini has a much higher speed stat, obviously, meaning that you're gonna find yourself in situations where you can like just click the button a little bit more with Victini, whereas Melmetal, you gotta like have that thought in your mind of, am I actually going to survive this turn in order to get my Terra attack off? And I mean, like Bash said, Melmetal can live like almost any hit in the game, because obviously it has a lot of HP, it has a lot of defense, and everyone's like, oh, well, its Spadef isn't great, but because its HP and defense is so good, you don't even really have to invest in it to live what hits you need to live. So you can almost always run Spadef Melmetal and then just like live the hit that you have to. So yeah, like you're pretty much guaranteed to get like one really big double Iron Bash off in the game. And with Terra Steel, that will be really good, obviously. But as Crypto pointed out, there's like dedicated answers to Melmetal, I think. And I think it is probably like a little bit easier to handle than maybe Terra Victini would have been. But I think that this is a really good team. I think supporting Melmetal with not just one, but two really, really reliable Wish Passers is great. Like, it's not just like, oh, these mons can run Wish, but they usually do run Wish, which is really, really good for a mon like Melmetal. And, you know, honestly, I guess maybe I'm like talking myself into the Terra Steel Melmetal, because if you can keep it alive and just keep going for that really ridiculously strong double Iron Bash, then that could work out, honestly. I think you have pretty solid hazard control, pretty solid momentum here. I do feel like dragons might be like a little bit of a threat since you don't have a dragon or an ice type of your own. And Sylveon, while it does have pretty good special attack, it can be like a little bit more on the passive side. It is also very slow, so like a setup dragon might be able to run through your team, but I do think that this is overall a really solid looking draft, and I'm a pretty big fan of it.
Nice.
I have one more thing to mention I forgot about. Victini Trick Room with Melmetal is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I was gonna mention that too. I forgot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you ran like room surface Victini or something, because Victini it is like a little bit on the faster side, I think, but
With
room
V3.
service can slow it down. Yeah, and then V free. Yeah, because you get the speed drop. Ooh,
Yeah,
Bash, you're
yeah,
cooking.
yeah.
You're
Oh, I
cooking.
know.
And then you got the Claude Sire to come in afterwards. Ooh.
Oh, no, nobody's that.
And then Ninjask. Oh. Alright, let me stop. Yeah, solid team though, Harrison. And welcome to Krash. Welcome to Krash.
Yeah.
But go ahead and move on to 7th place. We have the Kyoto Kurums, coached by Curse. Nice alliteration there. He's got a team of Garchomp, Mega Scizor, Necrozma, Weavile, Keldeo, Diancie, Serena, Frostmoth, Grafaiai, and Moltres, with the Terra users being Necrozma Fairy and then Frostmoth Free. Yeah, Chomp and Mega Scizor are just like a match made in heaven. Those two break for each other so ridiculously well, and they've been doing good things together since like Gen 6 when Megas were like first invented. I've used that duo before, and I personally like to see that duo paired with a bulky water. Actually, I use Chomp and regular Sizz, not Mega Sizz. But regardless, I would like to pair that with a bulky water. That said, I do think that Keldeo does a lot to deter the mons that would want to stop those two, handling ice types for Garchomp while handling fire types for Scizor. So I can't really complain here. I think it will just come down to maybe a difference in like playstyle, because you know I prefer having like a bulky water to pivot in on, but I definitely think that Keldeo is valid as a mon that can just generally threaten those mons that would want to keep them in check. I do think it's a little weird that you're missing an electric type, because bulky waters are, I think, the most common check for mons like Garchomp and Scizor and Keldeo. So having an electric type to deal with that would be nice. Without them, it's kind of up to Serena to handle that. And Serena isn't bad by any means, but I don't know if it wants to show up to every match. And I don't know if it wants to take on all of your water type needs necessarily. But I guess in a pinch, you could always run like Terra Electric Frostmoth. I think that is actually like a pretty valid answer in the right matchup. The team is missing a Wishmaster, but I don't think it needs it too badly. I also think Grafaiai is really cool. You know, one thing that I think is like really solid about it is Prankster Parting Shot. Is really good, and it also has Prankster Encore, so if you pivot into it at the right time, you can go for like a nice Prankster Encore if they're trying to set up on you. And then since they have to switch out, you can just Parting Shot around that, nerf whatever comes in, and then go into like Garchomp to set up, or go into Mega Scizor or Necrozma, or even Source Dance Weavile. Like you have a good amount of mons on your team that I think can benefit from the tactical support that Grafaiai provides. And I can appreciate that for sure. I think Necrozma Fairy is an interesting choice. I'm curious to see what you do with that one. I feel like from a defensive perspective, that is like a really bulky fairy, and in that sense, like a Fairy Dragon Steel Core of Garchomp, Mega Scizor, and Fairy Necrozma, that actually sounds like ludicrous. But I'm thinking more so from like maybe Necrozma's offensive potential. What does it struggle with? I guess dark types, yeah, I see the value there, so that could be really good for it. I'm curious to see what you do with Fairy Necrozma, but I think this is a really good team. I personally had it ranked 2nd, so I like this one a lot.
Yep, I like this team a lot too. Going back to your point with how you said you like Garchomp and Mega Scizor paired with a bulky water, do you think the main reason that because of that is like the fire types with hidden power ice? Is that what you were thinking back to more so in the older gens?
Yeah, I guess so. But even more recently, like I used that pair in like Gen 8, and it's just like I don't know, like Ice Beam and Flamethrower is still, obviously like the most common answer to those months.
For sure. I was just gonna add to that point, like Keldeo, yeah, it isn't the bulkiest water, but he does have a lot of other good like fire pivots in the sense with Diancie and Moltres that I think kind of complement it well too. So he doesn't
Hmm.
really have a dedicated, predictable kind of switch in, which I think is a really good strength of this team. It kind of has Mons that can function in different roles any given matchup, just depending on what you need it for. Um, a lot of Mons that are like, I guess I'd say a lot of Mons that are good at like dishing out offense and just a good balanced team because they can dish out the hits and take the hits at the same time, like most of the ones on this team. And I agree with the Dragon Fairy Steel presence of even the Diancie before Necrozma turns into Fairy is really, really strong. And I'm a big fan of the Garchomp Mega Scizor pairing as well. And again, going back to spoilers, of course, with the RCS division, but Frostmoth down there at 7 points as a Terramon or it's not, it is the Terramon, yeah, it is his free
Hmm.
Terramon, so
Yeah.
that's going to be exciting to see for sure. And I think I ranked this team maybe a little lower, but looking at it again, like, yeah, I had it seventh, and he did get seventh place, so it's like I guess it was right in the middle. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this team for sure. I like what a lot of things it has to offer.
Yeah,
I,
I feel like sorry not to cut you off, but
oh
just really
man.
quickly, I feel like Diancie as a mon is just getting better and better. I think Body Press was huge for it last generation, since you can run like Diamond Storm Body Press sets once you get like that +2 defense off of it. And then also I got Spikes this gen, which I think it's a very reliable Spike setter. So I think
Oh
that'll
yeah.
be a really cool mon to see. But yeah, go ahead,
Good
Bash.
point.
I'm very curious because like, and I obviously I can't get the answer right now, but I'm very curious if like the reason you made a Cosmo Fairy over like maybe something like fighting that would hit both the steels and the darks and be able to switch into the dark types, right? Is because of the fact that like right now your two resist an immunity, right, to dragons are 4 times weak to a move, right? So Diancie's 4 times weak to steel, right? Scissor's 4 times weak to fire, and a lot of dragons carry fire. Well, first of all, a lot of dragons carry fire coverage. For some reason, they always have fire coverage. Ridiculous, but
Sure.
for Diancie, a lot of them are starting to get like some of the steel coverage. So I'm curious if like the reason you made a Necrozma your fairy Terra is so that you have another way to respond to those dragons that might try to set up on you. Obviously, I can't get the answer right now, but it's something I might want to know for the future. But I think, um, I think, sketching crypto were able to hit a lot of the points that I wanted to talk about. Frostmoth obviously broken as a Terra. I think they have really good removal as well and stuff. So yeah, I think we can move on to the next team.
Well, I was gonna say we'll go ahead and make the question of the day for tomorrow on Crash. Why did Curse make his Necrozma fairy type?
Yes, I think so. I think that's great. That's a great
Yeah,
idea.
everybody can drop their predictions. Yeah, let's go and move to the number 6 team. We have the Jersey Dinos, coached by Marina. And Bash, I know that you just got done talking, but do you want to take this one too? I think you had it ranked a little bit lower than myself in crypto, so I'm curious to hear your perspective here.
So Marina's team consists of Zamazenta C, Spectrier, Latias, Tapu Fini, Thundi T, Umbreon, Miltank, Toadsucruel, Cleaver, and Doublade, with the Terra users being Zamazenta Ghost and Miltank.
Wait, let me guess. No grounded poison. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Crypto. Thank you. Yeah, no grounded poison, but I felt like there is like really good parts of the team as well, though. But there is some weird like I feel like I just didn't know how I felt about like Zamazenta Ghost, right? She already has 2 other ghosts on the team with Spectrier and Doublade. And it's also kind of weird that she doubled up on Steel type like that. But I feel like making it Ghost invites a lot of Ghost types, and I know she has really good responses into it with the Umbreon and Molting, which by the way, Toxic Core. But I also think that like Miltank and Umbreon also get nerfed a little bit by Tapu Fini being there. For particularly because they like to status their mons a lot of the times, like with Thunder Wave, Toxic kind of thing, and for Umbreon Yawn actually too. But with Tapu Fini's Misty Terrain there, I think they're gonna struggle a little bit more than they usually do. They are still amazing answers to Ghost, but I think that's something that I wanted to keep in mind for this. But yeah, no grounded poison, still gonna suck. Tapu Fini still gets poisoned before setting up the Misty Terrain with T-Spikes, so that's something you want to keep in mind. Luckily that she does have Wish Pass, which is really good. But yeah, I was kind of like a little bit down because of that, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like Doublade didn't really need to be as much on this team. I think there could have been a better mon in that situation, maybe a grounded poison that could fill that role better for the team. Because I'm assuming that Doublade was also there as like another fairy check. Because Zamazenta doesn't check fairies, right? And also like another fighting check, which Fury has plenty, but poisons also do that too. Grounded poisons would be really good for that, depending on which one you get. So maybe something like that would be really good for your team. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I definitely think the Doublade was like kind of necessary to add there at the end, just because that is his only fairy resist. Kind of like how you're pointing out how you need another fairy check. He's got like the bulky mons like the Miltank and Fini, which can take some hits from that, but after a while, like there's gonna be like a special, like if he runs into a Mega Diancie, like absolutely zero switch into Moonblast, which is not gonna be fun to deal with overall. And I do kind of agree with your presence that or with your topic of Miltank and Umbreon liking the status things, but maybe Marino decided to go with a more so just clerical type of approach most weeks and keeping the team healthy and kind of playing the long game a little bit more so. Just wish passing and heal belling around when necessary, and then probably setting up Spectre or Zamazenta for an in-game win con there. But I'm a pretty big fan of the team overall. I think I had it ranked 3rd on my list. Just because I wait, where's the dragon? Yeah, I really like the Fairy Dragon Steel Core again. This is between Zamazenta, Latias, and Tapu Fini. I think that's one of the strongest ones in this division for sure. And very curious to see what Zamazenta does in this league, because like Sketch was saying, it might have been last BR video. Sorry, it's getting kind of blended together at this point, but I have not seen Zamazenta used in standard play that much, if at all, really. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. And yeah, a lot of cool ones towards the end, like Toadscruel and Cleaver too. So one of my favorite teams in Giratina, and hope you make me proud.
Yeah, Crypto is, apologizing for referencing RCS so much. For the people who made it solid, or like 85 minutes in, for perspective, we just got done recording the RCS one literally right before we started this one, so we are like 3.5 hours into power ranking recordings at this point, and it's starting to blend together a little bit, which I think is why there have been so many references to the RCS ones. But I guess as a self plug, definitely be sure to go check out the RCS PRs too, because we worked so hard to bring it to you, but anyway,
yeah, we really did.
But no, I really like this team. I do think Bash has a pretty valid point with the no grounded poison, because T-Spikes is actually a pretty good way to deal with Tapu Fini, since the terrain doesn't activate before it gets poisoned. Unironically, I feel like a poison type Miltank could actually be really cool, especially when you consider you're saying that Zamazenta doesn't necessarily need to go Ghost, because there are already other Ghost types on the team. But
Danny
I mean,
Phantom,
yeah, Danny Phantom, go Ghost, yeah. But then again, you could also say that like Miltank has to switch in as a normal type before it can terrestrialize to poison. So I would agree. This team would benefit from a poison type, and not just for that reason, but also because I think that this team is really gonna struggle with grass types, which is not a type that I feel like drafts often struggle with, but the 3 types that this team is missing are ice, fire, and poison. And then if you look at what the flying type is, it's Thunderous Therian, which notoriously doesn't really run flying coverage. And so it really falls to Cleavor. I mean, granted, Thunderous does get Sludge Wave. I don't want to act like it has no way to deal with them, but just from like a stab perspective, it kind of falls to Cleavor to be like that dedicated answer. Which even that is like taking neutral damage from grass since it has rock typing. So that's a little annoying. Also, Toadscruel, spores will get blocked by grass types, and both of its stabs are resisted by grass. So I just feel like there's like a lot of like, I just feel like grass types are kind of annoying for your team more than anything. Like I like the team a lot, but that's like a type that I feel like it just struggles with a bit. But I think Zamazenta is such a great fighting type to pair with Spectrier. You know, it can come in and just sponge those dark type hits really well. And I do understand the concern of adding another ghost type there, but it does sort of add like that Marshadow typing with like base 128 speed too, where it's just like hard to switch in on it. You know, you have like the ghost spam and then fighting spam for the dark and normal types that want to come in on it. And if there's like, oh, well, maybe I'll go to like a really bulky fairy that's like bulky enough to take the Terra Blast hit. Wait, does it get Terra Blast? Let me double check that. Zamazenta.
Yeah.
Let me check real quick.
Yeah, I'm double checking.
Yeah, let us
now.
know in the comments.
Yes, it does. It
Okay,
does.
it does. Yeah. So maybe you have like, say, a bulky fairy that can take the Terra Blast hit and then resist fighting. Well, it still gets Behemoth Bash for those, and so I feel like Marina has structured this Zamazenta in a way where there really isn't a great switch into it, and I think that's really, really solid. Just to get like solid damage on like anything that is brought to the table, because that lets Spectrier come in the late game and clean up really well. I think that this is a ludicrous Fairy Dragon Steel core, as Crypto already pointed out. And then I think it's also like 2 really, really good wish passers with Latias and Umbreon passing wishes into Zamazenta and Tapu Fini. Like, that's amazing. Like, I can't think of better support for mons like Zamazenta and Tapu Fini that are like naturally bulky but don't have reliable recovery. That's such a good clerical support to give them. Yeah, I think, you know, team has great removal with like Fini and Latias, of course. Pretty decent hazard setting. You know, you got 2 Stealth Rock users. I think Cleavor Stone Axe being able to set up rocks will be pretty cool to use. And there's like spikes and toxic spikes, and yeah, I just really like this team a lot. I do see the drawbacks that Bash pointed out, and I would definitely agree with them, but I feel like those are pretty easy fixes to make. Like if you maybe rearrange your low tier mons, I really could see this being like one of the best drafts for sure.
Yes. Yes. Fair points indeed. Everybody feel like they got their points across on that one?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Oh,
Nice. All right. You want to introduce the next one there, Sketchy? Or give somebody else the introduction, but you be the introducer?
Yeah, sure. I'll introduce the introduction. We're going to 5th place. Hey, Crypto, you want to introduce that one?
You introduce her? I got this.
Well, only if Bash introduces it.
Oh, hell no. Let's not ruin it, all right?
whoa.
All right. Coming in at number 5, we've got our boy Mark. Just pointing out that is my uncle's name, so I'm going to give you some bonus points for that one. You've got the team consistent of Mega Diancie, Dragonite, Excadrill, Zarude, fuck you, Jimmy, Skeledirge, Vaporeon, Heracross, Galarian, Slowbro, Talonflame, and Stunfisk. Some McHeater mons on this team, I gotta say. Fairy Dragon Steel Core, obviously off the wazoo. You got the Vaporeon, Skeledirge, and Zarude. That's like a core, I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, that's a Firewater Grass core right there, if I've ever seen one. And then, oh, you also have Talonflame too. Never mind. Throw out Skeledirge. You've got Talonflame. You're good. And No. All overall, like all seriousness, like it's a good team. The wish support from Vaporeon goes hard on this squad. Like I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and just tell you now that your Mega Dynasty is gonna have a really good time against Marina. So if you guys are playing, sorry. Um, anyways, then you've got, let's see, you got the Excadrill, Diancie, and Stunfisk for hazards as far as rocks go. Does Mega Diancie get spikes then, Sketch, right? Because you were saying regular Diancie gets
Yep.
spikes.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sure
Yeah,
does.
that is really nice. And yeah, no, you have a really good choice scrubbers on this team too, which I like. An Excadrill, Zarude, and freaking Heracross. Those are some solid options. Just overall, really good balanced team. Not a single mon on the team that I'm like questioning at all. I know what everything can do. Galarian Slowbro is a pain in the ass, by the way. Like I'm pretty sure I lost to one of those. It was either last season or the season before, just because that
Oh
stupid
my
quick draw set.
God.
And
Oh, I forgot about that.
that shit is not fun. So you have some fun with that, buddy.
Quick
And,
draw, quick claw, right?
Yeah, quick draw, quick claw. That is definitely higher than the higher percentage than they say it is. Like 40%. That shit's like 80%. I swear. It's dumb. But yeah, really solid squad. And let's see, because I've been skipping over these, I feel like on my introductions recently. Let me go ahead and go over this. You've got the Terra normal Dragonite, which is a menace in its own right, and then you've got the free Terra Slowbro Galarian form, which is, yeah, gotta say that's pretty solid. So yeah, I'll let one of you guys take it from here.
Uh, I guess I could take it. I think this team is going to be very difficult to offensively switch into. Mega Diancie, Dragonite, Excadrill, Heracross, like I'll say even Talonflame too. Yeah, it is very difficult to switch into. There is not many switch-ins to those mons, especially when you can Terra the Dragonite. It is going to be really difficult. I think Dragonite being normal Terra is really good too. It's very common a lot of leagues right now because of the fact that normal Terra E-speed is really good, but also it's because normal is really difficult to take down as a typing in general, just because you need fighting, right? And they can just roost up on you and just keep dancing in your face. So, and all it really needs is coverage is like Earthquake typically. The defensive core is very difficult to be able to break. Things like Vaporeon, Skeleturge, G Slowbro, Stunfisk, like it is going to be really difficult to take the break through that core as well. They work really well together. And I think that it could be really good for the rest of the team. But also, in addition to that, Vaporeon like gives nice flip turn support as well for like those grasses and electrics. So we can get into like Excadrill and Dragonite because like obviously the grass electrics and I guess waters too will want to get in, and that'll give them free chances to set up and break even more. So I really like this team. I just really like this team. I'm really excited to see how it goes, and I am interested to see if one week you should try to do the quick draw set just to please Crypto. So
Put it away.
Yeah, I love this team. This was actually my number one team in my personal rankings. I think it's such a good squad. I feel like the approach to this team was just structured so beautifully because it was just like, how do I establish all of the possible cores? And so you go into it, you get right away a Fairy Dragon Steel core that is like ludicrous with Mega Diancie, Dragonite, and Excadrill. And just talking about those three real quick, like Crypto pointed out, Mega Diancie gets spikes now. So two of these mons, Diancie and Excadrill, get stealth rocks as well. And so already there's like this running theme of just getting hazards up in order for Dragonite to sweep in the late game from all this chip damage that's getting racked up. But then on top of that, you have Magic Bounce from Mega Diancie and then Rapid Spin from Excadrill to make sure that Dragonite's multi-scale is staying intact. Obviously it does have heavy duty boots now, but like if you don't want to run that, you don't really have to on a team like this because you have options to make sure that you can still come in at full health, and that's really good. And then from there we go right into establishing a really good fire water grass core, right? We go straight into Zarude, then Skeleturge, and then Vaporeon. All of these mons are like, they have really solid bulk to them. You know, Skeletor just getting a reliable recovery and unaware, Vaporeon acting as a cleric for the team, and then Zarude is a little bit more aggressive, but it's also got like it's tanky enough to sponge certain hits, especially if you run like resist berries or things like that. So just really good fire, water, grass. And then you also have a pretty solid psychic fighting dark core with Galarian Slowbro, Heracross, and Zarude. So it's just like a very well structured team here, I think. You know, I don't think that there's like a ton of momentum here, but the mons that do get it like to run it often, if that makes sense. Like Vaporeon is always going to be running like Flip Turn or Baton Pass. Like Zarude will probably always be running U-Turn. You know, Talonflame will pretty much always be running U-Turn as well, I feel like. Maybe not on like an SD set, but basically I feel like the ones that you do have will want to run it, which means that week to week you'll have pretty solid momentum options. You know, the only types you're missing are normal and ice, but Dragonite will just Terra into a normal type anyway, and so I really don't even count that as one that's missing. And I don't think that ice is necessarily the most crucial type to have, especially when you can threaten dragons with Mega Diancie and Dragonite. And that being a Dragonite that doesn't even have to like keep a Dragon type weakness. Like you have answers to anything that ice type would provide for you. You know, solid hazard game. Like I just think that this team is so good. This is number one for me for sure.
Number one.
I will say actually, it's a little slow. Like, you know, there's the Mega Diancie and Talonflame are the only things above the base 100 mark, but I think E-Speed normal type Dragonite can kind of make up for that, as well as maybe even things like Gale Wings, Talonflame, or like, I don't know. I feel like there are options. Oh, Zarude's also above base 100. So I don't know. It's not really too slow, but it could be a little bit speedier, but like overall, I think it's just so good.
Facts. Ashley?
I already talked about it. What do you mean? I introduced it to
Oh, did you?
Talk about it again.
Got it. All right.
No, you don't gotta talk about it
Oh,
again,
God.
but I will let you talk about the next team, that being the Soren Salamence, is coached by Elevated.
So, Elevated came into this draft and ended up picking Roaring Moon, Great Tusk, Cinderace, Kartana, Clefable, Mega Blastoise, Thundurus, Aladino, Mischievous, and Eldegoss, with Terra Captains being Roaring Moon, Flying, and Audino. And I like this team except for one thing, and I think they already probably know what it is. And everybody probably already knows that it is based off the trend of these power rankings. But there is no T-Spikes Absorber. But other than that, like, this team feels like kind of busted. I don't know. It's like crazy. Like, it is difficult to switch into. It has a decent like removal. I feel like it has decent setters. Like, I don't know. It has good momentum. Roaring Moon also just, you know, broke as it is with the Terrifying. You know, it was running the OU ladder before it got banned too. But yeah, I just feel like it was like I just felt really good about, like, I don't know, like I can't believe like some of the mons fell to like round 5, right? Round 5 Clefable was crazy to me. Like I'm surprised the other fell that late and he was able to grab it. And I feel like that's probably why I felt like the team was really good. I felt like it had a lot of really, I would say, bigger names, like really good mons to like that, like just like hit really hard, but also have like some defensive pressure as well, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that this team has a lot of great mons for sure. I'm sure you guys also know what is holding it back for me. That being, it only has 13 types, and it's missing, you know, like Bash said, the poison for absorbing T-Spikes. I don't think that Bug, Ice, or Rock are necessarily like super crucial if your team is able to like support it, but I do think that Psychic is a really important one that you're missing out on. But What I will say in its defense is that Audino being a Terra user is, I think, really smart for a team that's missing out on typings, because that means that if you're struggling defensively because you're missing out on one of these types, Audino can come in and like sponge that hit that you're kind of struggling to handle. For example, this team doesn't have a rock type, which means that its Brave Bird switch in would be like Thunderous, but I could definitely see a week where maybe rock type Audino shows up and is able to switch in on like the Brave Bird hit that you were struggling with previously, while also being able to, of course, pass wishes and just offer that clerical support and that sort of thing. So that's pretty solid. I think your hazard control is good. I would say your hazard control might even be a little too good, because I don't think that Eldegoss is actually necessary on this team at all. You have 2 other rapid spinners and you have a much better grass type. So I personally think that you'd be better off investing in like maybe like a low point psychic type over Eldegoss. But no, I can see the value for a team like this for sure. I think that everything that Bash said is definitely true. And I think that this is a pretty threatening team for sure. What do you think, Crypto?
I could be wrong. Is this the first team in either division that has at least 3 rapid spinners?
It might be.
I mean,
Probably.
it's just a lot, which is cool. I mean, I guess he could have picked up the Eldegoss for another like ground resist. I mean, it's a decent pivot for sure. So that's not bad. But I kind of agree with Bass that this team just kind of looks like broken across the board. It could be a little top heavy for sure. And there's definitely flaws, but like the offensive firepower this thing has between Roaring Moon, Tusk, Cinderace, Kartana, and then Blastoise down, and then Thundurus. It's like, when does it stop? Holy crap! But anyways, uh, paired with the Audino like wish support, I think it's just, and like Sketch was saying, that's a really good point. Being that it can tear at anything. On top of that, throwing in wishes to all these different mons to keep it prolonging them from dying is just super good overall. And yeah, it almost looked like just going across the board. Like, he got the round 5 Clefable, the round 6 Mega Blastoise, the round 7 Thundurus. Like, I feel like he got away with some really good late round picks, and it was solid overall. But I think I had this ranked pretty high on my list too. I want to say it was, where did I have it? I had it 4th. Yeah, I had it 4th.
Yeah,
So
Bash had this at number 1.
yeah, oh yeah, we both had it pretty high. No psychic type for me was something that stood out too. Just being a really important type on a lot of teams, I feel like, and I think it's gonna force Clefable into kind of that role of checking like strong fighting types a lot of times. But with the power creep going up in this generation, I think that's gonna be a lot harder for it. So this team defensively might struggle a little bit, and it's gonna put a lot of pressure on Clefable and Audino overall to perform like most weeks. So if Elevate's going to win a lot of his matchups, I think it's going to be like high offensive, high impact games where it's like a lot of 1-0s or 2-0 wins, which could be good at the end of the season, or it could, hurt his chances of playoffs if he misses out by a little bit of differential or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did take a look, and I can confirm that this is the only team in either division to have 3 rapid spinners.
Hey, good looks, Elevate. Good looks.
Yeah, with that, we are going to make our way into the top 3, kicking things off with Lugia, coach of the Starlight Corsola, with a team of Urshifu, Single, Landorus Therian, Latios, Scizor, Moltres, Infernape, Raikou, Tentacruel, Mega Audino, and Trevenant. And I had this team rated a bit lower than you guys did, so I guess I'll go ahead and start off to maybe explain myself. I had this team at number 9, which I don't think is bad by any means. I actually like this team a lot. My only concern with the team is that I think it's like a little slow, with Raikou being the fastest thing at base 115 speed. Like, I really feel like, especially in this meta, if you don't have anything above base 120 or even preferably above base 130 speed at this point, you're going to be struggling, I think, in certain matchups. And it's just kind of hard for me to rate teams like that really highly. But I do think that outside of that weakness, this draft is really, really solid. I think Urshifu and Moltres are both really terrifying Terra users. That being Galarian Moltres, I don't know if I specified that before. But yeah, they're just both really, really scary. Urshifu being Terra Dark, and then Galarian Moltres being Free Terra. There's just like there's like a handful of mons that I think can actually tank a Wicked Blow from Terra Dark, like Choice Band or Shifu at this point. Like it just feels like such a free button to click at this point now. And it's just going to be really annoying to keep that thing in check. And then Galarian Moltres having Berserk as the ability, and then just the option to run like agility sets and get like crazy sweeps while switching its typing to whatever you need it to. It's just going to be really, really threatening. I think that you have a really good Fairy Dragon Steel core with Latios, Scizor, and Mega Audino. Mega Audino is obviously like a really good cleric and support mon. I feel like the team could use another hazard setter in my opinion. I don't think it's like the worst thing ever, but you know, Landorus doesn't always want to be running Stealth Rocks, and neither does Infernape. But I mean, I feel like you can make do with what you have. I just think that you would definitely appreciate having maybe like a third Stealth Rock setter. But it's not the worst thing ever for sure. I would say like if you can get your hands, like maybe through a transaction, if you get your hands on a mon above base 120 or even 130 if you can, this would turn into I think one of the strongest teams in the league in my opinion. But what do you guys think?
I was gonna say that is it okay to say that like this and the two teams above this actually have the same score as far as like
oh yeah. I forget if I already explained this in this video or if it was only in the RCS video, but we did have a few teams that tied for their average score. So this team is actually technically tied for first, but we just have it ranked so that whichever team peaked higher on one of our individual lists was ranked higher. And actually looking at it, this was tied in that regard too. I think this should technically be maybe the number 2 team, but whatever, it is too late now.
You're a very, very good team, and I like everything Sketch pointed out. The one thing I would say to kind of counter the being a little bit of a slower team, which is fair. I think this team is really strong priority and also has very good choice scarf users, which can kind of make up for that fact a little bit. And overall, I rank this team very, very high because just the offensive firepower is just ridiculous. Like between Urshifu, Landorus, and Latios is your first 3 picks. It is not going to be fun to switch into that. And you don't slow down there because the rest of your team just hits really hard. Mega Audino, I think, is a really good low tier Mega to pair with everything on this squad. If you can utilize its regenerator abilities really well before you Mega Evolve it, I think that it will just overall give things like Landorus and Scizor just really good longevity throughout the match. And yeah, not a whole lot to add. This was my number 2 ranked team on the list. I think Trevenant was a good in-game or in-mon to pick up there, just because you can utilize a little bit better of a straight ground resist if you didn't want to necessarily risk one of your immunities. But yeah, and you do have a grounded poison, so you're set there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know it, like, I put this team pretty high, and I know Skep's like kind of like got it down a little bit because of the fact that I didn't have the really speed to be able to really put it, I guess, like higher up. But I would also argue that it has some really good scarfers on her team. No, but I'm messing around. But I would say though, that maybe like Landorus and Infernape don't really want to run Stuff Rocks that often. But I think that maybe grabbing another Stealth Rocker, maybe one that I guess. Sketch wants a faster Pokemon, so maybe Aerodactyl is free. Maybe that'd be great to add to the team. Stealth Rocker, Pokemon faster speed. It would really help with your speed tiers as well. And it could also be a nice suicide lead as well if you really wanted it to be.
It's a suicide lead.
Oh yeah, I guess you don't really know what a suicide lead is.
You gotta explain it for the people, Bash.
So basically, a suicide lead is where you set up hazards and then die. So basically, Yeah. So you basically set up hazards, right, and then you die. So like it's you get the point.
I get
Basically.
it now. Thank you.
Yeah. No problem. It's always great to have some clarification on certain terms. Especially like if you're like newer in the draft league community.
Like
So
me.
sort of
You're in those
yeah.
leagues, yeah, out there. So like Bashes.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. I did criticize the speed, but I wasn't really factoring in. It's really good priority, and it is really good scarfers as well. So I will definitely give it that. But yeah, solid team all around, I think. And with that, we can go ahead and move on to the number 2 team, which I recently discovered should be the number 3 team, I guess. But again, the top 3 teams were all kind of tied in terms of average. So take that for how you will. Like if your team has made it this far, really you are kind of like tied for first. So that being said, moving on to Barigo and the Greninjas in pajamas. And Crypto, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, no, I got this team. Burgo right here has the Mega Gallade, Tapu Koko, Hydreigon, Iron Treads, Superior Ceruledge, Milotic Porygon 2, Galarian Articuno, and the Weezing. And with the Terramons of Hydreigon Poison and the Articuno Galarian Free. Immediately, Hydreigon Poison is definitely a humongous threat just with paired with all of its different setup options. I think that was a really good choice. And then the Terra Articuno or Galarian Articuno was a good choice too, because I guess your other option was Weezing, so I definitely agree with the Galarian Articuno there. But overall, I think this is just a really good balanced team with a lot of good momentum that can help get Mega Gallade in, which is going to be my bold prediction in the Giratina division that Mega Gallade will be the kill leader on this side. So I'm hoping you can prove me right there, Burrigo. But also really think that the combination of Mega Gallade plus Ceruledge really help each other out in the sense that Ceruledge can kind of help deal with those bulkier psychic types if some of those might be a little bit problematic for Hydreigon, given that a lot of them have carry fairy coverage. So I think those 3 are just good combination and breaking for each other. And he's got one of the best spinners in the game, in my opinion, with Iron Treads that just got added. So I think that'll be good to kind of pressure things from keeping T-Spikes off the field, because I know Bass is going to bring it up. There's not a grounded poison on the team. The Galarian Weezing, unless you want to bring Iron Ball. Galarian Weezing, which... Or
no,
just
you could just run a different ability.
It's neutralizing gas.
Gas, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Shut up, Bash. But yeah, anyways, yeah. Yeah, honestly, you just killed my vibe with that one, Bash, but yeah.
I think I was the first one to even point it out.
But yeah, I thought those were all good points until Bash ruined my flow, but anyways, go ahead and take it over, Bash, since you're so talkative all of a sudden.
Oh wow! So, I think like Virgo's team is really, really good, to be honest. Like it's really good removal, good setting. The defensive core is like very good as well. Milotic P2 Weezing, like that's pretty tough to break down. That is like what you consider like the bulk, right? Usually the tanks. So basically, yeah. So also the like we talked about Weezing, right? It's gonna be really nice to be able to switch up the abilities. So like a lot of people aren't gonna really prep sometimes with the mindset of bringing T-Spikes against Virgo because of the fact they have Weezing, right? Because it could be running neutralizing gas or levitate depending. But yeah, even then, like it still has a really good removal. Like Iron Treads, right? Doesn't even get like affected by T-Spikes, and you can just spin it away, which is really good for the team, I think. And yeah, I think the combination of just like Mega Gallade, Tapu Koko, and Hydreigon just hits the team hits teams really, really hard. And I think people are gonna have a really difficult time prepping for it. Galarian Articuno is actually a very interesting one. I was one of the Pokemon I was actually looking at a little bit for a Terra All Pokemon that I was thinking of, because it like has like the things that it struggles with is like steel types, right? It can't really break steel types, but with the fact that it can run Terra Blast, it can be really good that way. It can be able to break things that way, and it really hits the coverage it needs to. So I think this team is. I honestly really love the team. Yeah. So yeah, that's Berg.
Yeah, I also like this team a lot. I was honestly considering asking this team out on a date because I love it that much. And if it says no, it'll always be the one that got away, you know? But I will start with the bad. It doesn't really get clerical support outside of Wish, Make a Gallade, which I would be pretty shocked if you decided to run that because I feel like there's almost always a better Make a Gallade set. But I mean, you know, I think Wish could be cool. But no, I think this team has, you know, pretty good momentum, pretty good hazard control, and I feel like this is kind of like hard to explain, but I just feel like the team has really reliable mons that can do well in most of their matchups. Like, it's a quality that's hard to define, but I just look at this team and I feel like every single mon on it can comfortably show up in like several matches this season. And I think that's always such a good feeling to have a team like that, where you know that, like, I don't know, I feel like it can be easy to fall into the pitfall, especially in points drafts where you have like really top heavy teams and then like your lower point mons. So like, maybe I'll run that once this season, but probably not. But this is a team where literally every single thing is like a valid option in like probably half the matchups at least. And that's always such a good feeling when it comes to prep. Like, I think that you're never gonna feel super cornered or like pressured when it comes to preparing for a matchup. Which will probably be a really, really good feeling. I do think, you know, there might be some tough matchups just from like maybe missing out on like a couple of types, but I think overall this team is just very well structured. I think that you're going to do well with it, so I'm a fan.
Nice.
Indeed.
That was some good points. Yeah, so did you already talk about Bash?
Yeah, I think Bash already talked.
Sorry, his points are just usually so irrelevant, I can't remember.
It's so boring, dude. I fall asleep sometimes, but anyway. With that, we are good to move on to the number one team. The number one team, also the team that's currently in first place since they did their match nice and early and won. Spoilers. But that will be the Caracas Caracostas, coached by HGC. And let's just go ahead and get the Bash section out of the way. Go for it, Bash.
Wow. Okay. Sprout broke it. Okay, that's literally it. That Sprout was broken.
Yeah. Yup. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know why nobody took it in RCS spoilers, I guess. But yeah, it's crazy. That thing is literally just sweeps like instantly. When it literally needs like 1-2 turns maybe to just like just go off, right? And then on top of that, they have Chiempao, which is like one of the hardest mons to switch into right now. So it realistically, those two mons alone just kind of can carry the team. On top of that, they have support like with Zapdos, Noivern for like removal, right? They have Mega Heracross, which also gets set up now too with SD Trailblaze, which is crazy as well. And then they have like defensive pivots as well. Zapdos and Gastrodon as a pretty good core defensively. To be able to and with Heatran as well makes it even better. I think they work really well together. Something to note also, Vileplume, actually a really cool Terra user. Did not expect it, but I think it's really underrated. I think it could work really well for the team. One thing I will note is that there is no Heal Bell user on the team, I believe, which might make it a little tough for statuses wise, but I think this team could work around it. I think it has a lot of synergy and I think a lot of breaking power, and setup. So yeah.
Yeah, Bash and Crypto kind of attest to this. I've been an Espathra fan from day one. Like, when Gen 9 came out, we sat down and we were like doing some team building and stuff just for like Showdown Ladder. And we're like, hey, let's like combine a team. We'll all put like 2 mons into it. And the very first team I was like, oh, it's got to be Espathra. Like, that thing's so cool. And I've been hyping it up from the start. I I was so sad that I didn't draft it in RCS because I grabbed Mew and then regretted it because I was like, oh man, now I can't get a Spathra and commit to 2 pure psychic types. But I think it's such a good mod. I think it's just like, it's so broken. Like Bash said, it can just go downhill so ridiculously fast with a mod like a Spathra. Like it just cleans up games. Or even if you get it in early, it could claim a life or 2 and just put you into such a good position nice and early. I like this team a lot. I do think it would benefit from some clerical support, like Wish for Heatran would be really nice, or even Wish for Mega Heracross, which can be pretty bulky. I think Wish would be nice for Primarina as well. I just feel like there's like definitely room for a cleric to be added here. It feels like there's not a ton of hazard stacking necessarily, but I do think that the hazard setters that you have are very reliable. I think Heatran and Gastrodon are both really good at getting up rocks, and then I think Gastrodon and Mega Heracross are probably both pretty solid at getting up spikes. And your defoggers are pretty reliable as well, being Zapdos and then Noivern. So I think that this is a very well-balanced team, pretty solid momentum. I agree. I think Vileplume could be really cool as a Terra user, because it has some really solid bulk to it, and so it could just be used as like a good flex option, just to make sure you have like a good response to maybe a mon that you're struggling with. You can just switch in like a different type Vileplume and like go for things like Strength Sap and Sleep Powder, and I'm not sure, does it get Terra Blast? I don't think it does actually.
Vileplume? I can check real quick. I do, because I am not sure.
Because I don't think it's in Gen 9.
Yeah, it does not.
Yeah, so that's a little unfortunate, but I do think that you can use the Terra defensively, and that will be, I think, very good for your team. So I like this one. I think it's really solid, and I will pass it to Crypto, who actually had this team ranked number 1, I believe. So let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I had this team ranked number 1, and the only thing I could think, like one word to describe this team, I would probably be like whooped 'em Gundam style. You know what I mean? Except I have a little piece in there, be like whooped 'em condom style, if you had to ask me.
Yo.
If you don't, because you better wear protection when you use this team. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise you're gonna be like exploding on all the other Pokemon on the other side of the field. And it's not gonna be good. So yeah, just figured I'd throw that out there. But yeah, he's got the best fighting psychic dark core in like the whole league. Like, don't even at me. Honestly, Jimmy has the worst core, but yeah, we're at the end of the video, so I'm roasting all you fuckers. Yeah, honestly, like I don't really have a problem with anything on this team other than I probably would have Terra'd Ursaring over Vileplume, just my opinion. But like Vileplume as a defensive Terra is really cool, so I can't hate you too much. And I think that's like your favorite Pokemon, so honestly, respect to you. And yeah, I think this team's really good. I'm sorry if I'm getting like not really given analytical point of views at this point. I'm just really freaking tired to be transparent with you, but this is my number 1. He's already so yeah, HGC is probably going to be taking Giratina this season. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, to sort of back Crypto up on this, it is currently 3:30 in the morning, and we have over 4 hours of power rankings recorded now in one session. So it has been quite an adventure. But if was there anything else, Bash? Did you talk about this? Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Predictions? Are there predictions or no? Or is it...
Okay, yeah, predictions. Crypto already gave his. I'm gonna say Urshifu from Lugia's team will be kill leader. That is my prediction.
You know what? I am going to say it will be the let me check who is this Pokemon again. I forgot this Pokemon again.
Uh-oh.
This is really awkward.
This is getting cringe.
We just ruined the whole video, Bash. Why don't you?
Jeez,
Yeah.
now we gotta start the recording
Yeah,
over.
I'm gonna say Mark.
Jeez.
I'm gonna say Mark with Dragonite. I think we'll get the. We'll be the kill
Oh,
leader.
that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one for sure. So I'll go ahead and display all three of our personal lists if you're curious for where you landed for everybody. And
If you have any questions, make sure to add Crypto because he'll be answering all of them in the server. So don't worry. Just as long as you add him multiple times.
yeah,
Preferably my OnlyFans account, not my Discord account. So
yeah, and you can add him for any questions, not just related to this. Like if you're studying for your math test and you get stuck, definitely feel free to add Crypto. Crypto is the only reason I graduated college, actually, because whenever I got stuck, I added him. So be sure to do the same.
right.
Yeah. Any questions? It could be about college. It could be about personal. It could be about like your fun life. Your extremely fun life. Your extremely fun life.
Yo.
Your bed life. You could be about your Incineroar life.
Yo, these PRs are juiced. We gotta end this.
Wait. We all gotta end with like leave a comment down below for like one of those things. You know what I mean? We all gotta leave those. So my thing is gonna be, what is your favorite exercise? Do you leave the comment down below? Sexual or non-sexual, whatever you prefer.
Nope. Non-sexual.
Non-consensual too. I mean consensual.
Jesus, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for, if you made it this far, thank you for being a part of our community, for joining Krash or returning to Krash, and yeah, let's make it a good season, you guys. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you are as well. But yeah, that has been me, Sketch AV, gonna get about. Peace.
Peace.